So my name is Richard Lindsey. I'm the Service Manager for Children's Community Services, and I've been asked to speak about my personal experience with COVID. And my personal experience with COVID isn't unique to me, and it's the experience is actually more about my wife than it is about me. So my wife is Lee Lindsey. She's also a nurse, and she works in the ADHD and ASD team. Lee got COVID in January of 2021, and as predicted for anybody with an underlying condition, Lee got COVID as bad as you can get it, really, without dying. So her story is really that she became ill, then became very ill, then went into hospital, then spent 4 weeks in ICU, sedated and ventilated. Then she had a few more weeks in hospital. Then she went to rehab, and she went to rehab in one of our trust units. So you went to Beechwood at Isbrook, who were absolutely fabulous. Couldn't praise them highly enough, so I needed to mention that in this video. And then Lee came home in March 2021. And Lee's been off sick from work, and it remains off sick from work to this date. So we don't know when she's going to be fit to work. So she's been left with a number of problems that are long COVID related and are related to the deconditioning that happens when you're sedated and ventilated, because essentially your body doesn't move for 4 weeks whilst all manner of machines keep you alive. So Lee's got a lot of muscle weakness. She gets out of breath really, really easily. She experiences tachycardia, so she has a really high heart rate just out of nowhere, even though she's on quite a hefty dose of beta blockers. So, for instance, even this week, Lee, just out of nowhere, in bed, her heart rate shot up to 130 beats per minute, staying still, and stayed like that for a good 20 minutes before returning down under 100. It has gone to 180 beats per minute and stayed there for a long time. And I can't actually recreate that riding my bike really hard up a hill. So imagine if you're sitting still and your heart's bashing away at that. So that's where Lee is at the moment. So she experiences a lot of pain, a lot of weakness, a lot of shortness of breath and those sorts of things, and she's involved with the long COVID service, and she's got other consultants involved caring for her at the moment, and all the news is that she's expected to make a full recovery, but it's going to take an awful long time. So that's where we are. But this story isn't necessarily about the things that went wrong or the things that happened or the illness, because this is the Wellbeing Festival. So this is about kind of describing our journey of how we've coped with everything. So the first thing that I need to say very, very clearly is the trust itself has been incredibly supportive. And then also my immediate managers, so people like Claire Gibson, Sharon Robson, people like that, have massively supported us through this period. Lots of things happened to support us. Obviously, the way the trust set up the COVID policy, there was never any question about any time that needed to be taken off or anything like that. It was, right, you need this time. One of the really good things that happened for me is when Lee came out of hospital and came home, I was given they worked out I could use my annual leave, some carers leave and some members leave to put together 4 weeks where we could spend some time together, and I could really get Lee settled in and we could start that road to recovery at home. And it was really needed. So it was really good that I got that. When I came back to work, there was also things put in place that recognised that, I've got a big job and there's lots of things to do. So additional support was put in for me for I think it was about 8 months in the end, where someone else worked alongside me so that I had help to actually do the job that I do. And again, that was so valuable in terms of the recovery and my well-being, but also Lee's well-being, because she knew that I was being really well supported whilst I was at work. Other things that kind of were put in place is I saw our wellbeing counselling service. So that was really useful. So I was able to talk through what the experience was like, and able to kind of really kind of make sense and get some closure around a lot of things that we did. At the same time, at home, one of the things that was really useful in terms of our wellbeing is I'd recorded everything on a calendar, the time that Lee went into hospital, what happened on what day, where she was, what was going on. I don't really know why I did that at the time, but it was really, really helpful, because if you can imagine, if you're in an induced coma for 4 weeks, you don't know what's going on. And Lee's brain had actually made up a load of stuff that didn't happen. So we spent some time going through that and having that kind of that written down of where she was and on what day and what was going on. Something was really helpful for her in terms of her making sense of everything. She created kind of memories that just couldn't be true. So for instance, she moved from Kettering General to Boston Pilgrim Hospital, and moved from the ICU in one hospital to the ICU in the other hospital. And Lee thought what had happened was that she was on a ward in Kettering, and they moved her from the ward in Kettering to Boston Pilgrim Hospital ICU without her ever being in Kettering ICU. And one of the things she really firmly thought was the nurse in charge of the ward in Kettering that she was moved from was also the nurse in charge of the ICU when she arrived there. And you're like, just that couldn't be true, could it? So we were able to sort of piece those things together. So that was something useful that happened. Along the way, I've been doing lots of things that are really, really good for my well-being, and I think these are the things that keep me well whilst we're dealing with all of this and Lee's return to full health. So I've specifically picked the background today, which is the dogs. I'm very lucky to have these two, what look like two black Labradors. The one in the back's actually a Labrador Golden Retriever cross, but no one knows that. So, but I'd do a disservice to Charity, the wonderful dog in the background, not to tell you what a full breed is. So, yeah. I walk these every day, and it's really, really useful for my well-being in terms of they're great fun to be around, but also this is when I do all of my thinking and just sort the world out in my head. If I leave my house in a bad mood, walking my dogs, when I arrive back at my house, all of that's gone. It's all sorted. So that's really useful in terms of well-being. Usually in the morning before I walk the dogs, I also use the Daily Calm app. So I do a 10 minutes mindfulness session. And again, that really, really helps me. Just to kind of clear your brain, clear your thoughts and all the rest of it. So all just part of my kind of routine that gets me through. The other thing that has a massive impact on my well-being that I do personally is my cycling. So I'm involved in cycling at a local level in a number of different ways. One of the ways is that I coach children's cycling. So I coach for Kettering Cycling Club, a group called the Cyclones. So we do lots of training on a Monday night with them. And again, so if I've had a tough day at work, I go and I do my coaching, and those kids always sort my head out because it's just so much fun to do and it's so rewarding. So that helps. Also, I do lots of long distance cycling. I'm involved in races. I'm in a few clubs, and I get a lot from that. One of the things that really clears my head is a long bike ride at the weekend, and I think it's partly it's the exercise, but also while you're riding your bike, you've not got your face in a screen, so you're getting a real break from that kind of electronic world that seems to dominate us now. And also it's the kind of the friendships and the relationships around cycling that really, really help me. So that's helpful. Another thing that I do is on the core team for Desborough Green Space Junior Park Run. So on a Sunday morning, there's a junior park run. It's just like adult park run on a Saturday. except it's a shorter distance and it's only for people, for kids aged 4 to 14. I can't tell you how rewarding that is. So you just watch the little kids going for their run, and it's kind of smiley, happy faces and that sense of achievement, and you get to know them and all the rest of it. And then there's also being part of that group of volunteers. So that volunteering thing really, really helps my well-being. You feel part of something, you feel like you're doing some good in the world, and that's the helpfulness of it. So yeah. So, and if anybody does wish to come and join us on a Sunday morning for the Desborough Green Space Junior Park Run and do some volunteering, we always need more people. So if you're interested, do a little advert for us there. That'd be good. The other thing, so I don't think this can't be underestimated in the slightest, in terms of my well-being, is about relationships. And as this is the NHFT Wellbeing Festival, I'm going to talk about work relationships. I'm surrounded by great people, and all day, every day, those great people help me with all the things that I need. If I sort of reflect back on what it was like to be off work whilst Lee was in the hardest part of her being in hospital, and also I had COVID as well, but we kind of gloss over that because my experience was minimal. I couldn't believe how pleased I was to be back at work after that time, and the welcome I got back at work from everybody was just amazing, and it stayed that way in terms of I feel really well supported, and again, should I arrive at work in a bad mood, usually someone will lift me straight away by just those supportive conversations and all the rest of it. I think that's another thing that's been really important in terms of well-being. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't think there's anything much more to say about the sorts of things I've got going on, but I do feel that doing all of those things have kept me well, sort of emotionally, throughout this difficult time. The other thing I wanted to say about that is I realise I'm really lucky. A number of people whose loved ones went into hospital and got into the state that Lee got into, they didn't get those people back. So I know that I'm lucky that Lee did come home. So I just wanted to sort of mention that, because I know that our situation's bad, but some people have had it a lot worse. I just think you just need to keep that in mind as well when thinking about how things have gone. Okay, that's what I wanted to say.